Before the Maya raised towering pyramids, before the Aztec offered blood sacrifices beneath their temples, there was another civilization, older, greater, yet almost erased from humanity's memory. They are known as the Olmec, the noble people. But we know little of their real name, their true language, or their full story. All that remains are colossal stone heads, up to 3 meters tall and weighing dozens of tons, their faces stern and mysterious, gazing through the millennia. The Olmecs lived in the humid lowlands of southern Mexico, along the Gulf of Mexico, from around 1500 to 400 BCE. For nearly 1,000 years, they built ceremonial cities, developed art, architecture, and religion, and planted the seeds for every later Mesoamerican civilization. The calendar, writing, ritual sacrifice, the feathered serpent, the jaguar god, all began with the Olmecs, later inherited by the Maya, Zapotec, and Aztec. And then, like so many civilizations, they vanished. No written record tells us where they went or why they collapsed. Only massive stones, abandoned ruins, and a great unanswered question remain in human history. Step into the jungles of Veracruz and Tabasco 3,000 years ago to uncover the story of the Olmecs, the mother civilization of the Americas, where myth itself began. About 3,000 years ago, in the deep green tropical forests of southern Mexico, where the rivers met the salty waters of the Gulf, a quiet civilization took its first steps. This land, today's Veracruz and Tabasco, was not like Egypt's golden deserts or Mesopotamia's great river valleys. It was lowland, swampy, crisscrossed by rivers, drenched with rain, hot and humid all year. And in this harsh environment, the Olmecs sprouted and grew. Imagine a morning on the lower Coatzacoalcos River around 1400 BCE. The red sun rises over dense jungle canopy. Mist rises from the waterways where crocodiles wait silently. Parrots screech, monkeys howl in the trees. On the riverbank, an Olmec village stirs. Wooden huts with palm thatch roofs, cooking smoke blending with dawn fog. Children play by the water while men paddle dugout canoes to fish, and women grind maize into dough for bread. Agriculture was their foundation. The Olmecs grew maize, beans, squash, chili, and cacao, crops that would sustain all later Mesoamerican civilizations. They cleared fields by cutting and burning forest, dug canals to control flooding, and diverted rivers to irrigate. Fertile soil and heavy rains fed their growing population. From agriculture, Olmec society expanded and stratified. By 1200 BCE, great ceremonial centers arose: San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Zapotes. These were no longer villages, but ritual cities, with plazas, massive earth mounds, and monuments to power. San Lorenzo, the first Olmec capital, stood atop a vast artificial plateau, with raised terraces, engineered canals, and above all, gigantic basalt sculptures. Their society was clearly hierarchical. At the top were rulers, priests, holding both political and religious power, mediators between people and gods. They commanded vast labor forces to drag enormous basalt boulders from distant mountains, carving colossal heads and altars as symbols of authority. Beneath them were artisans, master carvers of jade masks, ceramic vessels, and small ritual figurines. Their art was astonishingly sophisticated: jade baby jaguar faces, ritual human figures, finely carved ornaments. The Olmecs even processed natural rubber from local trees, perhaps to make ritual balls for sacred games. The majority were farmers, fishers, and hunters, supporting the upper classes. And surely there were the oppressed, slaves or war captives. Together they formed a stratified society far beyond the tribal stage. Geography made the Olmecs a trading hub. From the mountains they brought obsidian for blades, jade for ornaments, basalt for monuments. From the sea they gained salt, fish, and shells. Trade routes spread outward, linking the Olmecs with distant regions. Through trade, their influence radiated across Mesoamerica. Even in their earliest days, the Olmecs developed a cosmic vision. They built earth mounds aligned with celestial cycles, perhaps to track the sun and moon. They worshipped nature deities, the rain god, the maize god, the jaguar god. The jaguar both predator and supernatural being. Sacrificial rituals, perhaps even human sacrifice, may have begun here. And so, in the tropical forests, a brilliant civilization took shape. From maize, they built agriculture. From riverside villages, they built ritual cities. From myths of jaguars and the sun, they built religion. The Olmecs stepped out of the tribal world to lay the first stones of Mesoamerican civilization. Looking back, the Olmecs were not merely a lost people. They were the beginning, the mother culture of Mesoamerica. Maya, Zapotec, Aztec, all trace back to their seeds. And to grasp their glory, we must return to the humid lowlands, where the story of one of the world's most mysterious civilizations first began. When we think of the Olmecs, the first image that comes to mind is their colossal stone heads. But behind those stern stone faces lies more than art. It is the reflection of a golden age, a time when the Olmecs built vast ceremonial centers, developed exquisite craftsmanship, and forged cultural symbols that would live forever in Mesoamerican history. San Lorenzo, the first heart. Around 1200 BCE, San Lorenzo rose as the first Olmec center. Unlike the stone cities of Athens or Memphis, San Lorenzo was built mostly from earth, yet its scale and organization made it a marvel. The Olmecs leveled a natural hill into a massive platform, upon which they built mounds, plazas, canals, and ceremonial structures. Most astonishing was San Lorenzo's hydraulic system. The Olmecs dug a complex network of canals, channeling river water into the city, perhaps to control flooding, perhaps for sacred rituals. Some scholars believe this was the earliest irrigation system in the Americas. In a swampy land prone to floods, mastery over water was both technical brilliance and a symbol of authority. But San Lorenzo is best known for its colossal heads. Imagine a basalt boulder weighing 10 to 40 tons, quarried from the distant Tuxtla Mountains, dozens of kilometers away. No wheels, no beasts of burden, only human strength. Hundreds, maybe thousands of Olmecs dragged those stones through jungle, swamp, and river. Then, with stone and wooden tools, they carved them into monumental human heads, 2 to 3 meters tall. Each face is unique, slanted eyes, broad noses, thick lips, exuding power. Many wear helmets, perhaps of warriors or ball game players. Scholars believe these were portraits of rulers, kings immortalized in stone. Even after 3 millennia, their cold gazes still meet ours, as if telling the story of an entire civilization. Venta, sanctuary of the gods. When San Lorenzo declined around 900 BCE, Venta rose to prominence. More than a city, it became the greatest ceremonial center of the Olmecs. Built on an island in swampy land, Venta symbolized both political and religious power. At its heart stood a massive earthen pyramid, about 30 meters tall and shaped like a cone. Though not built of stone, its scale rivaled Egypt's pyramids. Around it were plazas, mounds, and basalt monuments. One of the most enigmatic structures was the mosaic offering, a floor of thousands of green serpentine blocks, arranged in a rectangle, then deliberately buried beneath the ground as a permanent offering to the gods. Venta also preserved the finest Olmec art: jaguar-human hybrid statues, altar reliefs, and, of course, more colossal heads. Here it becomes clear Olmec art was not mere decoration, but deeply tied to religion, ritual, and authority. Art and symbols. Olmec art is instantly recognizable: the were-jaguar, a human infant face with jaguar fangs. One of their most mysterious symbols, it may represent the fusion of man and divine power, linked to shamanic rituals and beliefs that rulers could transform into jaguars. Other works include jade masks, serpentine figurines, and intricate carvings. Jade was especially sacred, its green color symbolizing life, water, and the heavens. Jade ornaments were buried in tombs as offerings to the afterlife. The Olmecs also invented the rubber ball game. They processed natural rubber to make balls, used not for sport alone, but for ritual, symbolizing the cosmic struggle of life versus death, light versus darkness. Some stone altars even depict ball players, showing the game's religious role. Symbols of power. Every monument, mask, and pyramid served one purpose: to affirm the power of the ruling priest-kings. Like Egypt's pharaohs, Olmec rulers were both political leaders and divine mediators. Their authority rested not just on force, but on control of ritual and faith. It was this fusion that bound Olmec society together and gave rise to their radiant Golden Age. The Golden Age. From 1200 to 400 BCE, the Olmecs built ceremonial centers and created timeless works of art. They forged a culture that inspired all later Mesoamerican civilizations. The Maya inherited their calendar and writing. The Aztec took their ball game and blood rituals. Symbols of the jaguar, the serpent, the rain god, all began with the Olmecs. This was the Golden Age of the Olmecs, a time when, deep in the humid jungle, humans dared to dream of immortality, carving their faces into stone and creating symbols that would transcend time itself. If we ask what the true soul of the Olmecs was, the answer lies not in their earthen mounds or stone heads, but in their religion. In a world where nature both sustained and threatened them, humans sought explanation, protection, and balance from unseen forces. Like many early civilizations, the Olmecs built a whole system of cosmology, mythology, and rituals to answer the eternal question: who are we, and what is our place in this world? The three-tiered cosmos. The Olmec universe was imagined as three realms. The upper world, the realm of the sun, moon, stars, and gods. A place of light, order, and divine guardianship. The middle world, the human realm of jungles, rivers, and mountains. The space of daily life, work, and community. The underworld, dark, damp, where tree roots burrow. Waters flow, and souls of the dead dwell. It was a realm of both fertility and chaos, danger and renewal. These worlds were connected by the cosmic tree, a symbol later seen across Mesoamerica. Its roots pierced the underworld, its trunk stood in the human world, and its crown reached the heavens. Through it, gods and humans could communicate, and the cosmos remained in balance. Gods and myth. Though the Olmecs left no written records, carvings, and statues, compared with later cultures, allow us to glimpse their pantheon, the jaguar god, their most powerful and mysterious symbol. In the rainforest, the jaguar ruled as predator of the night. The Olmecs revered it as divine. The were-jaguar motif, part human, part jaguar, often with infant-like faces, almond eyes, and fanged mouths, appears everywhere. Some believe it represents a mythic union between a priest and the jaguar god, producing a divine offspring. Whatever the origin, the jaguar was at the heart of Olmec spirituality. The rain god, life itself for the Olmec farmer, often depicted with a grimacing face, furrowed brows, and sometimes paired with serpents, symbols of lightning. To secure rain, sacrifices may have been made in his honor. The maize god, maize was the foundation of life. Depicted with elongated heads shaped like corn kernels, this god represented growth, rebirth, and the agricultural cycle. The feathered serpent, first appearing among the Olmecs before spreading across Mesoamerica. It linked earth and sky, water and air. Later, the Maya would call it Kukulkan, the Aztecs Quetzalcoatl. Other figures include the great bird, sky and rulership, and crocodiles, earth and primordial chaos. Shamans, intermediaries with the divine. In Olmec society, shamans were the bridge between humans and gods. They were priests and sorcerers, capable of entering trances and transforming into jaguars or other sacred beings. Many figurines show humans in kneeling poses, eyes shut, mouths open, as if caught mid-trance. Shamans may have used hallucinogenic plants, dance, and chanting to reach altered states. They were healers, diviners of harvests, leaders of sacrifice. Spiritually, they rivaled, or even surpassed, political rulers in influence. Sacrifice. One of the most debated aspects of Olmec religion is human sacrifice. Archaeological evidence is inconclusive, but some scholars believe the Olmecs sacrificed humans, possibly children, to bring rain or fertility. Burials with ritual traces, along with childlike were-jaguar statues, suggest such practices. More certain is the offering of objects: jade, serpentine, and greenstone. At Venta, entire serpentine mosaics were created only to be buried afterward, eternal offerings to the gods never meant to be seen again. The sacred ball game. The Olmecs were the first to create the Mesoamerican ball game using a bouncing rubber ball. Played on eye-shaped courts with sloping walls, players struck the ball with hips, thighs, or shoulders, never hands. But this was no mere sport. It was a cosmic ritual. The ball represented the sun, its motion the eternal cycle of day and night, life and death. Later, civilizations made the game a deadly rite, where winners or losers could be sacrificed. The Olmecs may have laid the first foundations for this tradition. Cities as cosmic models. Olmec cities were not randomly built, but carefully aligned to sacred order. Venta, for example, was laid out symmetrically, its central pyramid flanked by plazas and mounds. Its axis may align with solstice sunrises or sunsets, proof of astronomical concern. In this way, the city became a microcosm of the universe, pyramids as sacred mountains, plazas as the human world, canals as the underworld. Living within such a city meant inhabiting a living map of the cosmos. Religion as power. Above all, Olmec religion was also a political tool. Rulers' priests claimed descent from the gods or shamanic powers to commune with them. Through ritual, they legitimized their rule, binding people in obedience. The colossal heads, therefore, were not just portraits, they were sacred symbols of divine kingship. A lasting legacy from the Olmecs came the roots of all Mesoamerican religions. The Maya adopted the three-tier cosmos, the cosmic tree, the ball game, and the feathered serpent. The Aztecs inherited blood sacrifice, believing that human hearts nourished the sun. The greatest beliefs of Mesoamerica began with the Olmecs. If religion was the soul of the Olmecs, then trade was their lifeblood, sustaining them, expanding their reach, and spreading their influence across Mesoamerica. The Olmecs were not a military empire of conquest, nor a centralized kingdom ruling hundreds of thousands. They were more like a cultural cradle, a place where ideas, techniques, and goods were born, and from which they spread outward along trade routes to distant lands. A strategic crossroads of nature. The Olmecs lived in the lowlands along the Gulf of Mexico, where major rivers such as the Coatzacoalcos, Tonalá, and Grijalva flowed. These rivers acted as natural highways, carrying dugout canoes laden with crops, stone, and people across swamps and jungles to distant villages. Their homeland also sat near valuable resources: basalt from the Tuxtla Mountains for colossal heads, obsidian from highland Mexico for blades and weapons, cacao and rubber from the forests, feathers from tropical birds, and salt, fish, and shells from the sea. Everything they needed for survival and exchange was at hand, making the Olmec lowlands a natural trade hub. A vast trade network. From San Lorenzo and Venta, Olmec traders ventured outward, paddling rivers and crossing forests. They carried jadeite, a rare green stone quarried in Guatemala hundreds of kilometers away. Jade was sacred, a symbol of life, sky, and water. The Olmecs carved it into masks, amulets, and ornaments, trading it as treasure. They also obtained obsidian, despite lacking local sources, proving their role in a wide trade web. From their forests, they exported rubber, mixing latex with vine sap to create bouncy balls, a revolutionary invention that became central to the Mesoamerican ballgame. Cacao, later the foundation of chocolate, may have already been used as a ritual drink. Brilliant quetzal feathers symbolized power, while salt and shells enriched coastal trade. Influence across Mesoamerica. Remarkably, traces of Olmec influence appear far and wide, from Oaxaca's Monte Alban to early Maya sites in Guatemala, even as far as Honduras. Olmec-style carvings, pottery, and jaguar imagery spread wherever their traders went. It wasn't just goods, ideas traveled too. The Olmecs likely pioneered early writing, seen in the Cascajal block, 900 BCE, with signs suggesting proto-hieroglyphs. They may also have devised the sacred 260-day calendar and the solar 365-day cycle, later perfected by the Maya. Soft power of culture. The Olmecs' strength lay not in conquest, but in soft power. They left no evidence of great armies or fortifications. Instead, their dominance spread through trade, ritual, and symbols. Others adopted Olmec practices willingly, carving jaguars, playing the rubber ball game, burying jade as offerings. This made them the mother civilization of Mesoamerica. A lasting legacy. Between 900 and 400 BCE, Venta became the nexus of this cultural web. While younger civilizations like the Maya and Zapotec grew, the Olmecs remained the teachers, partners, and rivals of their age. Even today, their legacy endures. The pyramids of the Maya, the sacrifices of the Aztec, the hieroglyphs of the Zapotec, all bear the mark of the Olmecs. They needed no conquests, no chronicles. Through trade, art, and faith, they seeded the civilizations of an entire continent. Every civilization, however resplendent, must face a single moment when its radiance dims and shadows begin to fall. For the Olmecs, that moment arrived around 400 BCE. From being the mother civilization, they slowly stepped off history's main stage and then vanished entirely, leaving behind colossal stones and thousands of unanswered questions. Signs of weakening. Around 900 BCE, San Lorenzo, the first emblem of Olmec power, suddenly declined. Archaeologists have found many colossal heads smashed, altars overturned, structures torn down. The place that once shone brightest seems to have been reduced to ruins. Why? Perhaps a river changed course, stripping farmland of its fertility. Perhaps the people rose up against the ruling elite. After San Lorenzo, Venta rose and became the greatest center, holding pride of place for several centuries. But by around 400 BCE, Venta too collapsed. Its monuments were abandoned, its rituals ceased. At the same time, no other Olmec center remains in evidence. Abruptly, the entire civilization drops out of the historical picture. Hypotheses for the collapse. The Olmecs left no texts to recount their last chapter. All we have are reconstructions, archaeology and comparison, and a tangle of hypotheses. Environmental change, the most likely culprit, is climate and environment. The Olmec lowlands depended heavily on agriculture. If rains diminished, drought lengthened, or conversely, if flooding struck repeatedly, harvests would fail. Without enough food, people would disperse. Society would unravel. Some geological evidence suggests that around 400 BCE, this region saw significant climate shifts that may have altered river courses. When the source of life disappeared, ceremonial cities like Venta had no reason to endure. Internal unrest and social conflict. It's possible the ruler priests lost legitimacy once they could no longer control nature. If they could not summon rain or restore the harvest, people might revolt. Evidence from San Lorenzo, smashed statues, hints at upheaval, angry crowds destroying the old symbols of authority, competition with other cultures. As the Olmecs weakened, other civilizations rose. The Zapotec in Oaxaca, early Maya in the Petén. The Olmecs may have lost trade advantages, their centrality eroded and then replaced. There's little evidence for large-scale war, but the shifting balance of regional power was likely decisive. Disease or natural disaster. Another idea, epidemic disease swept through, or an earthquake or a volcanic event toppled Olmec centers. Direct proof is lacking, but natural shocks have ended many ancient worlds. Disappeared or dissolved? A key question. Did the Olmecs truly disappear, or did they merge into other cultures? Many scholars believe that after 400 BCE, the Olmec people did not go extinct, but were absorbed by their neighbors. The Olmec imprint persisted in ritual, in art, in symbols. The Maya, Zapotec, and later the Aztec continued that inheritance. In other words, the Olmecs did not die. They transformed from an independent civilization into a cultural nucleus diffused within other peoples. The silence of history. What renders the Olmecs so enigmatic is this. They left no clear writing, no annals, no chronicles. When they vanished, memory of them vanished too. By the time the Spanish arrived in Mexico more than 2,000 years later, even the mighty Aztecs did not know who the Olmecs had been. They found giant stone heads in the jungle, thought them the work of gods, and called their unknown makers Olmec, the noble people, a label imposed from outside, not their true name. What mysteries remain even today, archaeologists debate. Did the Olmecs have writing? If so, why did it not develop further? Why carve colossal heads and then bury them? Why were the great centers abandoned nearly all at once? And most of all, who truly were the Olmecs? No one knows for certain. But one truth is clear. The Olmecs' disappearance was not an ending. It was a clearing of the way. After them came Maya, Zapotec, Teotihuacan, Aztec, each walking a path the Olmecs first opened, an undying legacy. Though gone, the Olmecs are immortal in what they left. Their colossal heads still sit there, eyes fixed on the far horizon, reminding humanity that a great people once lived within that jungle. They sowed the seeds of writing, of calendars, of ritual, of art, and those seeds germinated across the millennia. Many civilizations have been forgotten. The Olmecs are different. They are origin, the mother culture. Their very disappearance sharpened their aura, turning them into legend, so that thousands of years later we still sit here, entranced, telling their story. More than 3,000 years have passed since the first Olmecs raised San Lorenzo and La Venta, and yet, standing before those colossal heads today, one feels watched by a civilization unwilling to go quietly into history's dark. The Olmecs have vanished, but their legacy has not. It flows in the lifeblood of every later Mesoamerican culture, from Maya to Aztec, from the carved glyph to the ritual ball game. Perhaps the Olmecs' true power lies not in how many pyramids they built, nor how much land they controlled, but in the first cultural seeds they planted, seeds that, across thousands of years, still sprout, still live, still shape descendants they could never have imagined. The Olmecs, mother civilization, passed like a shadow, leaving us more questions than answers. And perhaps that very mystery is what makes them immortal in our imagination. Because sometimes what is not explained is what lives longest in human memory. And when Mexico's forests whisper in the night wind, one can almost hear the thrum of ritual drums, the shouts from the ball court, and the footfalls of Olmec shamans along the path that bound humans to the gods.